Hello everybody and welcome to the third round of competition here for the SRL TCR League season number 10. We are back and we are here at the Long Beach Street Circuit. It is going to be a very challenging evening for all of our drivers out there. That is for certain with the two races that are coming up tonight. It is going to be absolutely epic. Drivers will be racing each other all the way to the walls, and they don't have to go far because this is an extremely tight circuit. It has held host to many races over the years, and it was created all the way back in the 1970s. A vastly different layout to what we have today, though, and it has been an incredible development over the years. But the circuit, the circuit around Long Beach is going to create some excellent racing as always. That is no doubt here because it is a brilliant waterside circuit stretching just under 2 miles in length. 11 turns, and the hardest one, of course, being that solid right-hander hairpin, which I think has been the main highlight of crashes at this circuit in real and virtual motorsport. Of course, hosting a variety of series, but most dominantly the IndyCar series and its predecessors of the Kart and Champ Car World Series as well. And in fact, it hosted the opening round of the Kart and Champ Car Series from the 1984 to the 2009 season, and it is hosting our TCR today, round number 3 around this fantastic circuit of what has been an amazing calendar so far, with an amazing set of races still yet to come as well. We head to Summit Point next time out on January 30th, and then we start Feb off at the Hungaroring, what was ultimately feels like a street circuit with how tight it is around there. A lot wider to go before you hit the walls, however. Then we go to the Virginia International Raceway on Feb 13th, just before the Valentine's Day celebrations, and then we head across to Italy for the Mugello circuit. We then go across to Brands Hatch, a fan favourite around the world, I feel, especially in these TCR machines. We then head to the Catalunya circuit for round number 9, and finally we head to Road America to finish this championship off. Talking about the championship then, let's have a look at the championship standings, and we will start at the top with the Pro Championship. Heading out of the first 2 rounds at Jerez and Motegi, it is Jack Bolton who remains in the lead of the championship in the pros and the overalls. However, that gap down to Adam Delmont has dropped. Only 9 points separate them now. Logan McKenzie sits in 3rd position, a fair few points further back before we see the defending champion of Dan Mould in 4th position. Luciano Espinera sits in 5th in that Bike 500 machine. The Bike 500 team doing well together. They are leading the current team's championship. Will Lyon sits in 6th and Kim Borkland in 7th position. Jaden Scotton is in 8th, and the new team of Altitude, Arthur Thurtle there teaming up with Andrew Lovesey, and they'll be racing in Altitude. He sits in 9th position, and Anthony Lammer rounds out the top 10 in the Pro Championship as it stands going into this one. We then have a little look just outside, and no points on the board yet for Declan Marsden, who has not been here the first 2 rounds. However, he is here tonight and currently 4th fastest in the session as well. We jump over to the new standings, the semi-pro standings introduced this season, of course. Andrew Lovesey, in that newly formed Altitude team, is leading that standings with 195 points, 7 points clear of Daniel Downing in the SRL Purple. Again, a few steps back to Carl Hardy, 30 points separates him from the top of the field, and he sits in third right now. Then it's Daniel Lewis and Dec Crowther. Kev Ayler, he sits in sixth position, just a couple of points behind Crowther, and John Brown currently sits in seventh. Ronald de Jong, even with a victory, sorry, no, not a victory to his name, but some good results to his name, he hasn't been able to pull himself straight to the front. I was thinking of another driver that took a victory in a different class, which we will get to in a moment. Tom Woodcock coming home in ninth in that one, sitting ninth, sorry, at the moment in this one. And Mahan Kodaman rounds out the top 10 right now in your newly formed semi-pros. All of your semi-pros have put points on the board, which means Mark Draper, Stephen Fry, and Jay Cooley are sitting at the back of that field right now as we go into the third round of asking. Across to the Pro-Am Championship. No defending Pro-Am Championships in this class, so will be a new winner here. And Gonzalo Oliveira of that leading Byte 500 team also leads in the Pro-Am Championship with 168 points. Demis Titchler sits in second. And the man I was thinking of before, JB Dejay, he has taken a victory in that Pro-Am class. He is unable to race tonight, which is a shame for him. But he is sitting very nicely right now with 145 points. Of course, there will be drop weeks on offer throughout the season, which means Dejay will be taking a drop here tonight. Now, a name who was not previously in the Pro-Am Championship, Jack Brown. He has jumped up from the amateur class and into the Pro-Am class, which has shifted our AMs around a little bit. We'll talk about that in a moment. However, Jack Brown sits fourth in the Pro-Am class after being promoted up into this one. He has a little bit of a way to go to catch up to Oliveira, but it's certainly not out of reach with still with 8 more rounds on the board. Fraser Garrity sits in 5th position in this one, tied with Paul Hurley. Lucas Henschel is 7th right now ahead of Craig Walters. Alan McCain sits in 9th, just a few points ahead of Stuart Gibbons. And then you have Kevin Marshall say, the last of the drivers who have currently put in points, no points on the board yet for Luke Woodhouse or James Colden. We then have a look at this AM class, and with the promotion, it means that Thomas Coombe now sits at the top of that standing. Coombe with 2 class wins. Jeff Saunders has the other 2 class wins, and it's 15 points separating the 2 JC Academy drivers running under the Opal and the Topaz banners. So there are a few JC Academy drivers in this one, but they are right now topping the amateur class. Torben Mayo sits just behind in 3rd position ahead of Van Reenen. Then you got Andy Littler there just ahead of Ben Gibbons. Vigard Olsen-Leah sits in 7th. He is looking very fast in this session right now, along with Torben Mayo. Chris London sits in 8th right now in class ahead of James Brown, and then there are again a few names without any points on the board right now in the championship, but hopefully we'll see them start putting in their first points soon. Right then, as we prepare to get started then, we welcome you into the commentary box for the first time tonight, and I am really looking forward to this one. It's going to be tight. Overtaking is going to be a challenge. Qualifying, therefore, is going to be quite important here today. But I do think there are going to be overtaking opportunities, definitely in touring cars. There may be a little bit of wheel-to-wheel combat as drivers try to find any positions that they can. I do think this circuit is challenging, but it can create some amazing racing. So let's find out how that's all going to go here tonight. Now, if you are watching us for the first time and you are watching over on the YouTube channel, make sure that you subscribe to SRLTV so that you don't miss out on any of these races, and you can catch them all live every Friday from 9:15 p.m. GMT. If you want to watch a first-person view, then head across to the Simulation Racing League's Twitch channel, and you can see one of our drivers, Dan Mould, defending champion, race around the circuit from his POV. And then if you are watching over on the Twitch page as well, make sure you hit the follow button there on Joseph Wright TV, because then you are notified whenever we go live and bring all the broadcasts over there as well. Right, this was a little bit of a longer intro than normal, covering all of the classes, making sure that we covered every single championship, so we know where everyone stands heading into this third race. So therefore, practice is already done here. Qualifying is just about to begin in a moment's time, and our drivers, a strong 40-car field, are going to be heading around the streets of Long Beach here in California to see what they can do and where they can place their cars. Bonus points on offer, of course, in qualifying to get yourself on pole position, and that is per class. There will be 4 pole sitters in this qualifying session, 1 for each of the classes. So, without further ado, let's stop talking about it all up here in the commentary booth. Let's get down onto the track for the qualifying session for the third round of asking. Now, qualifying so far has been dominated by Jack Bolton, who has found his way to pole position in both of the opening rounds so far. However, he is only running 9th fastest in the practice session, almost half a second behind. Can he find that time in qualifying? Now, of course, qualifying is going to be important to find yourself some space around here to get in a valid lap, especially with a grid full of 40 drivers trying to get their lap times in. It is going to be a very, very tight track out there, and we are going to have a look at where everyone is on our wonderful track map so that we can keep an eye on who's getting some space out there and who is struggling to find those places. Now, we are going to go and jump down to the man who has found it on pole position so far throughout this season, as he has done 2-4-2 at the moment. Jack Bolton is out on track, and there he is coming out of pit lane in the number 31 machine. Now you can see just how many cars there are out there and how busy it is about to get, with all of our cars heading onto the circuit to try and get in a qualifying lap, and that is going to have some influence over the qualifying laps. Is just the space that drivers will or will not find will be directly influencing the lap times that are able to place, and it could mean that drivers such as Bolton, who has found himself on pole in both the races so far, might not be able to get his way to the front of the field. Of course, 2 poles has not meant a string of victories for Jack Bolton. He's only taken 1 race victory in the 4 races so far, and that was at the 2nd race at Jerez. However, he did not manage to get a win, even from the pole position last week at Motegi, after Dan Mould made a last lap move in race number 1, and he just wasn't able to make his way through the field in the 2nd race. Talking about series that have only seen not seen a repeat winner, classes I mean. So the pros have seen no repeat winners so far. 1 going to Delmont, Bolton, Mould and Turtle. The semi-pros have not seen repeat winners either. 1 going to John Brown, 1 going to Crowther, 1 going to Daniel and Downing, and 1 going to Lovesey. It has been a bit of a mixed bag there. The Pro-Ams has only seen Demis Titular take 2. The other 2 have gone to Oliveira and Deshay. And the M's, it's 2 apiece for Saunders and Coombs. So they are looking to maybe take 3 each here as we head around the Long Beach circuit. Now, let's jump on board with Jack Bolton, who has made his way through the opening section of the lap, out of turn 5, and now onto West Shoreline Drive. In fact, Bolton is backing out of his lap there and deciding he is going to find it another time to go around the circuit. Run on board with Anthony Lammer here. He's got a clear track in front of him that is going to help him getting in the best lap, apart from the fact that he wouldn't have a tow pulling him along these longer straights. Right, into turn number 11, the tightest corner, I believe, in motor racing. It is an absolutely horrendous corner. I don't know why they've not changed it in 25 years, but there we go. And we, even longer than that, I think that hairpin's been there for, is absolutely disgusting. Right, Lammer comes across the timing line though, and we will start to see our times on the board. Adam Delmont is currently the fastest out there. Declan Marsden outsprints him, and Anthony Lammer does not get a lap time on the board in that one, and visits back down pit lane. Marsden, this is his first week of racing in the series, not been able to attend the first 2 weeks. Can he find his way to that pole position. Kim Borkland has found some good time as well in second right now. Adam Delmont trying to take the fight to Jack Bolton is right there at the top. Bolton at the very bottom of those with lap times right now. But of course, Jack Bolton did back out on his lap time, so he is going to find it a little bit more eventually. We are watching Scott Malcolm here right now. He is the fastest of the amateur drivers. Knocks down to second in class, actually, because Torben Mail now is the fastest amateur driver. When we were having a look in the practice session, Vigard Olsen Leah and Torben Mail were both the fastest AMs. They were finding good pace out there. Will they be able to replicate it here in qualifying? You can see just how packed the back end of this field is right now and how busy it is out there on the circuit trying to get some lap times in. It's not going to be easy to find your way around this circuit and find a whole lap of clean air and put it in as best as you can, but drivers are certainly going to try the best that they can. Now we come out through turn number 11 of the hairpin from Scott Malcolm. Will it be an improvement this time across the line for him? It's a 28.305 to beat on his personal. It's 28.374, so very close to it, but not quite enough. Vigard Olsen Leah there crosses the timing line. Will it be a good lap? It certainly is. It is only 8 thousandths of a second off of Torben Mail, who was fastest in class, but Ben Gibbons has just found a huge amount of time in area motorsport and finds his way to the front of the amateur class. Fastest right now in your semi-pro class is Daniel Downing of SRL Purple, looking to take the fight to the top of the semi-pros alongside Andrew Lovesey if he's able to. Jack Brown stepping into the Pro-Am field after being in the amateurs for the first 2 rounds of the season. He was promoted up to the Pro-Ams, which took away his 3 class victories. He will now be looking for his first class victory in the Pro-Am field. Will he be able to do it? Racing, as you can see, in the next gen Racing Green Machines, teammates with the man currently on provisional pole position. It is Adam Delmont who finds his way to the front. Dan Mould finds significant amount of time, pushing up into second place right now. McKinsey crosses the line. Good enough for third at the moment. Not an improvement on that previous lap. Few names still yet to put in a time on the board. Stephen Fry being one of them in the number 35 machine of the SRL Rossos. Looking at the team standings, which we didn't quite cover on, SRL Rossos are the highest of the SRL teams. Only 4 of them now, as SRL has dropped out with Andrew Lovesey forming a team with... oh my word, my memory's gone already. Forming up a team there with Arthur Thurtle means that the SRL white team has dropped. But Rosso, purple and green are 5th, 6th and 7th in the championship. Rosso, Stephen Fry and Dan Mould, the fastest of them all right now. It's 11th in class, 32nd overall for Stephen Fry. Jack Bolton will not be happy right now in this qualifying session. His best is a 28.5. It is the slowest of all of the drivers that have put in a time here in the qualifying session. We head up now towards the final turn. Bolton keeps it wide to get through. Will he be able to get in a good lap and a valid lap and a good lap on this one? Let's find out as Bolton comes up towards the timing line. It is a mixture of colours on the left-hand side. No class fully dominating outside of the 6 pros at the very top. Bolton gets in a time. It was another invalid lap for him. Might have been an out lap there. So let's see what Bolton could do on this one. Of course, if you scrape a wall and get yourself an instant, even a 0x is going to invalidate your time. So pushing hard and just pushing too hard for just a moment could see you invalidating your lap as you scrape a wall here. Top 7 are now all pro drivers, as Will Lyon moves into 6th, knocking Borkland down into 7th right now. Gonzalo Oliveira, he leads the Pro-Am Championship. He currently sits on pole position in the Pro-Am field as well. Scratch that. That position is taken by Demis Titchler. Titchler with 2 victories to his name. He took the double in class at Jerez. Will he be able to replicate that here with a class pole position? Chris London is currently the fastest amateur driver in this session, as Bolton once again gives up time here. He has lost 10 minutes in this session. He has 5 to go. Can Jack Bolton find a lap time around this circuit? He is currently 34th position, and for the man at the front of the Pro and Overall Championship, this is an evening so far to forget. But can Jack Bolton find something towards the end? It says 9th position. That is his position in class. He is 30th overall on the left-hand side there, knocked down now to 31st position overall. This is not what Jack Bolton would want. He only has 4 drivers behind him that have put in lap times. We're still waiting on lap times from the pro driver of Luciano Espinera, the semi-pro driver of Mark Draper, the pro-am driver of Stuart Gibbons, and the am driver of Jeff Saunders. Saunders has taken 2 class victories so far this season alongside Thomas Coombe, who has taken the other 2, and those 2 drivers now lead the amateur class, with Jack Brown being promoted up into the Pro-Am field after some very dominant displays in the opening 2 rounds in that Am class, and he was getting himself in the mix of the Pro-Ams and occasionally the semi-pros as well. Jay Cooley has found some good time out there as well. Good enough for 11th position overall, as Dan Mould finds his way to provisional pole position by 35 hundredths of a second over Adam Delmont. That's exactly what the number 1 machine would have been wanting after a slightly tricky kick off the line in the previous 2 rounds. He is looking like it could be a strong one here, and looking to try and take the bonus points from that pole position. Anthony Lamb is out there right now in 5th position. We're still waiting to see if we see an improvement here. And I think we have seen an improvement actually from our pro driver, if I can find him, of Jack Bolton. It is an improvement for Bolton. He's up to 11th. However, he is still 9th position in class. Of course, they take their points for the championship from their overall finishing position. Bolton will not be too impressed with this one right now. We'll be hoping to find just a little bit more as the timer continues to click down here in qualifying, and we prepare for the first of 2 races tonight. Can Bolton find time on this time around the circuit? To beat his own lap, he needs to go faster than a 26.8. He gets a 26.7. It's enough to move him past John Brown, but he is still behind the semi-pro leader of Daniel Downing. If he can get himself to the rear of the pro field, he'll be very happy about that. The only driver then of the pros that we will not see towards the front is Luciano Espinera, who is not out on track even at all. So he will not be qualifying and will be starting towards the back of the field for Espinera, who will that won't be great either for the Bike 500 team of Espinera and Navarra, the 2 Argentinians, of course, racing together in their team, and they are leading that team's championship right now. They took the lead off of Next Gen Racing Green out of Motegi, leading by just 5 points, but right now is not looking like a strong result, especially on the side of Espinera. Oliveira, however, sits in 16th overall, sits 3rd in class, so certainly could still do something for the team. Will we see anything from Espinera, who will have to start towards the very back of the field. Bolton dives down pit lane, will not be finding any time as Andrew Lovesey, the semi-pro championship leader, has found his way to the very front of the field in that altitude team, and he is obviously just jumped into the altitude team alongside Arthur Thurtle, and the two teammates doing relatively well in the championship, and by relatively well I mean Lovesey is leading the semi-pro championship and currently sitting in provisional pole in class. There is no Thurtle tonight, however, so that team running with just a single driver tonight under the name of Andrew Lovesey. 30 seconds left on the board then, and right now at the very front of the field, Lama, Delmont and Mould are separated by just 55 hundredths of a second. None of them out on the circuit though, so find no improvement in this one. And that means that looks like Dan Mould is going to find pole position here around the Long Beach circuit as Borkland finds his way forward. Scotton is down in 9th overall right now. Bolton has obviously backed out and will find himself out of the top 10. I think that's incredibly tricky as well, to find yourself outside of the top 10 when you've just come off the back of 2 pole positions. But Dan Mould, defending champion, will start this first race of the day from pole position for the first time this season. Let's get ourselves started then. And let's see what the grid is going to be for race number 1. Dan Mould is going to start this one in pole position ahead of Adam Delmont. Anthony Lama will start in 3rd ahead of Logan McKinsey. 4th position. 5th position will be Declan Marsden, stepping into the car for the first time this season ahead of Kim Borkland. Then we have Will Lyon ahead of Andrew Lovesey leading the semi-pros. Jaden Scotton will start in 9th ahead of Daniel Downing and Carl Hardy. Jack Bolton down in 12th position to start this one. John Brown will start in 13th ahead of Jay Cooley, and Demis Titchler leads the Pro-Am field in 15th ahead of Jack Brown, Gonzalo Rivera and Luke Woodhouse. We then have Kev Aylett in 19th ahead of Coderman and Crowther. James Colden sits in 22nd ahead of Stephen Fry and Alan McCain. We then see London, the leading AM driver, ahead of Daniel Lewis, De Jong and Mail. Walters starts in 29th ahead of Fraser Garrity. We then see Ben Gibbons in 31st ahead of Thomas Coombe. Vigod Olsen-Leah starts in 33rd position, of Scott Malcolm in 34th. 35th for Paul Hurley and Mark Draper in 36th. Luciano Espinera will start in 37th ahead of Jeff Saunders, and Stuart Gibbons will round this 39-car field up from the back of the track. We are looking forward to how this one goes. Race number 1 will be 20 minutes of racing action. We'll then prepare for race number 2, which will be 25 minutes with a top 15 invert. I hope you guys are ready for this one. I certainly am. Just had a big gulp ready to start this one because I think it is going to be non-stop action from start to finish, as it normally is in the SRL TCR League. If you're watching over on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button and you hit the thumbs up. If you're watching over on the Twitch, make sure you hit that follow button. That way you won't miss any of these races. 20 minutes on the clock then. Dan Mould starting from pole position out of Adam Delmont at the front of the field in the pro class. It stretches back 20 rows and they are going to come past the camera. The whole field is going to fly by underneath the green flag as it waves, and we are up towards turn number 1 here on the opening lap. Are we going to get it nice and clean towards the front? It looks like there's already an accident and a big shunt behind as drivers get accordion affected there. Another car around, more cars around here, and we are to an almost stop here on the opening lap of the race. Most of the field caught up in it in some way or other here as drivers try to just stay where they are, not get themselves involved in anything extra on the opening sections here, as Ronald de Jong major damage, and it looked like de Jong was one of the first cars to go around in all of that. But at the front of the field, Adam Delmont has pulled away on what is going to be about 14 minutes. 14 laps of racing in this 20-minute race. But it looks like at the very front of the field they've sorted themselves out. Damage there for Jack Bolton. Championship leader has got some major damage to his car as we head around the end of the lap here, and Bolton is still making overtakes even with that damage, gets past Jaden Scotton. Scotton falls behind Titchler as well, and across the timing line we are going to go on the opening lap of the race, and it has been a big hit for a lot of drivers. Talking about big hits, Jaden Scotton has got some major damage, extremely slow through the final corner, and now diving down pit lane as well, as it looks like Adam Delmont is still leading ahead of Lama. Dan Mould fell a couple of positions on the start there as drivers tried to sort themselves out. There were multiple cars down pit lane trying to get themselves sorted. About 10 of them, it looks like, have had to jump down pit lane to sort their cars out. Vigard Olsen Leah then, in your pro class, in your AM class, has found his way to the very front of the amateur class, 16th position overall in this race. Chris London down to second in class, into 18th, but Olsen Leah started 5th in class and has found his way into first in class right now. And as you can see as we ride on board, major damage to Kev Aylett ahead. Aylett has actually lost the boot of his machine. That car is looking a bit worse for wear. It's looking like the rear end is stepping out a bit as well. So Leah's going to be looking there and just thinking, please Kev, let me through. Let's not get into any sort of accident here, especially being the class leader. Aylett does stay out, however, which means Leah is going to have to make the move done on track if he wants to clear the driver with some heavy damage. Lights flashing from the semi-pro of Coleman. It is the AM driver of Chris London ahead, who has made his way into 18th position overall. Coleman, though, if he wants to make that move, is going to have to take it to the inside of turn number 1. That's exactly what he does. Just enough room for him to sneak on through, and through goes indeed. Thomas Coombe there looked to try and take second in the amateur class, as this is a fight between Coombe and London for second in class right now. Thomas Coombe running in that JC Academy car. He's taken 2 class victories so far this season. He scrapes the wall and gets the dust up into the air there, but does hold on with, he is under attack from Daniel Lewis. Ben Gibbons and Scott Malcolm are just behind as well. They've only got Daniel Lewis between themselves and that battle for the AM class podium. So the amateurs all going at it right now, looking to see if they can do something around the Long Beach circuit. Jeff Saunders, Thomas Coombe have taken 2 victories each so far. Could this be a victory for Olsen Leah, who managed to get 1 class victory in the amateur field last season? Can he find it a lot earlier in the season this time out for season number 10, and potentially find a few more down the line as well? We've got Ben Gibbons here of Area Motorsports as we head up toward the timing line, and it looks like that was a slow... Is it Scott Malcolm? No, it looks like a back marker, I believe. Looks like it was Torburn Mail, and it was Torburn Mail coming out of the pits. Is a lap down as Chris London from second in class slams into the wall at turn number 1. What has happened here for Chris London? It was side by side with Thomas Coombe. He's to the inside and he drives himself into the wall. Coombe hits the wall on the outside trying to avoid, but it is into the wall there for Chris London, who is now down pit lane and out from the podium. Luke Woodhouse leads the Pro-Ams. And right now, Titchler is the only man in the Pro-Ams who have taken multiple victories. He sits 1.5 seconds back. They do have the overall and pro championship leader of Jack Bolton sitting around right now in 11th position in this race between Woodhouse and Titchler. So Woodhouse is looking back and seeing this damaged car of Bolton and just probably got his fingers crossed and saying, keep Demis behind, please, so that I can take this victory. Woodhouse is showing some good pace out there right now, as is Andrew Lovesey, the semi-pro championship leader. He also is leading this race from what was pole position in class as well. There's a few positions gaining in the back there as Daniel Lewis had to visit pit lane and get his car repaired as well. We watched Stephen Fry. Fry has got some damage on the front end as well, all from that opening lap, of course. Major contact on the opening lap of the race, with most of the field involved in one thing or another. It has meant that drivers are out there dealing with some pretty significant damage to their machines. I've driven these TCR machines, and I know that it's more than just visual when you have damage looking like they are out there. Back up towards the front then, we've not really been looking at them today. Dalmont still ahead of Lama, still ahead of Mould, McKinsey in fourth, and Falkland in fifth. They're just running in a nice line at the moment. It is a fastest lap from Dalmont, goes all the way of Falkland though, as Falkland's getting most of the tow there. Scott Malcolm has found his way into third in the amateur class. That is because obviously the damage that went the way of Chris London. Torburn Mail, who's also feeling quite fast around here, has found himself down at pit lane and a lap down as well on the opening lap contact. That one was. Scott Malcolm though is about 1.3 off of Gibbons. Thomas Coombe has fallen to fourth position after avoiding the accident that Chris London was in. So they have swapped and he's fallen off of the podium here, but looking to try and get the opal of the JC Academy team back up onto that podium there. Coombe with 2 wins so far to his name in class. But Vegard Olsen Leah is currently leading his class, I'm trying to figure it out here, by 7.5 seconds. So Leah is looking very strong right now for that class victory, as is Luke Woodhouse, if he can keep the damage at Bolton at behind him, and Bolton can keep Titchler at bay as well, because Titchler is still looking to try and make his way past Jack Bolton in this fight, which is for 11th position overall. Bolton started this one in 12th, has picked up damage, but still has found himself 1 position higher than his qualifying, but he doesn't want to fall back down to 12th. Titchler wants to make this move through, though, so that he can get back onto the rear of Woodhouse and potentially fight for his 3rd win in class this season. Titchler took the double back ahead, as of course it was Downing, it was Levera and Dejay who took it last week. Levera sitting 3rd in class right now, Dejay unable to race tonight, so it is an opportunity for a new Pro-Am winner, that's for sure. Bit of a slide there from Titchler as he got to the rear end of Jack Bolton and just had to put on his anchors a little bit harder than he probably wanted to. We look at the Cinemark, apparently. Isn't it beautiful? We look at this fight ongoing in the amateur class right now. Ben Gibbons still 2nd in class, ahead of Scott Malcolm. It is Thomas Coombe behind, but Coombe has dropped back a bit, and they do have Torburn Mail a lap down, of course, in the middle of that fight right now. Thomas Coombe, though, after being on with a chance of a 2nd position, has fallen to 4th and potentially continues to move toward time. Could Jeff Saunders work his way up here? Of course, Coombe and Saunders are at the top of the amateur championship right now. So with Coombe being ahead of Saunders. So Coombe will want to try and stay ahead of him on the circuit here. Saunders will need to find 4 seconds on Coombe to make his way up towards the front right now. Not able to do that as we jump back to the front of the field once more. I feel like we've almost forgotten there. Adam Delmont continues to lead away. He does have purple to his name ahead of Anthony Lambert. Dan Mould sits in third still. Eddie McKenzie and Borkland, and still they hold that gap ahead of Andrew Lovesey. Out of the final corner they come, and they just continue to get the slipstream. I'm thinking we might see some moves towards the end of this one. And after being promoted up into the Pro-Am field this week, Jack Brown's inaugural event in that Pro-Ams is not going as he would have hoped. He is a lap down following the first lap accident, and he finds himself 34th position overall, which is a huge shame for the man that was showing some significant pace in that amateur class. Of course, promoted up, still showing some strong pace in the pro class, but he lets the JC machine through, and that is the number 86, I believe it was, that he was letting through, who is a lap ahead. It might not have been 86 if I'm thinking. It was 86 of Jaden Scotton. He was letting through. Scotton himself not having the best of runs out there, and if I'm not mistaken, I'm actually trying to find him here. He sits in 26th position right now, really not good. And Declan Marsden, who found himself near the front of this field at the start of the race, he has found himself all the way to the back and out of race number 1 of the day. Of course, 2 races every single week. This is the first of the 2. It was 20 minutes, and we lost a number of drivers, and more got damaged on the opening lap with some contact. Talking about some issues here, is it just a... no, it's not an issue for Livera. Livera's just dropped slightly on our timing as we continue to have a few issues with our timing, as it looks like a few cars, though, have come down pit lane. Andrew Lovesey is down pit lane, and so is Daniel Downing. Downing looks like he has some significant damage, but the man who is leading the semi-pros is down pit lane. Has there been some sort of incident? Yes, there has! A big issue for Andrew Lovesey here. What happened? It's to the inside from the number 20. Means Lovesey's wide. He hits the wall, and then it's collection from behind. And the 2 drivers of John Brown and Andrew Lovesey come together. And the damage means they have to come down pit lane to sort it out. And Andrew Lovesey, who is leading the semi-pros, finds himself 8th in class and 24th overall, which means John Brown is now hunting for his 2nd win of the season in that semi-pro class. He won the inaugural semi-pro class race back at Jerez in race number 1. Will he be able to take his 2nd win of the season here at Long Beach for round number 3? He has a 6.5 second gap to Deck Crowther, who sits in 2nd in class. Kev Aylett sits 3rd in class right now. And Vigard Olsen-Lear has just got some strong pace around here. So did his teammate Torbjørn Mail. Mail caught up in the accident though on the opening lap. But the 2 of them, the 2 Sim Racing Norway amateur endurance teams, drivers, have just got pace here at Long Beach. And Olsen-Lear is sitting about 10.5 seconds clear of Ben Gibbons right now. That fight in the amateur class still ongoing as Scott Malcolm in the Lubin Motorsports continues to chase down Ben Gibbons. Thomas Coombe is less than a second back now, could get himself back involved in this one with about 3 more laps to go at the end of this lap. as we head through turn number 6 there. And now up into turn number 8, we get onto the brakes and turn across. Malcolm still chasing down on Ben Gibbons, but has an opportunity now to the right-hand side. Goes Scott Malcolm to make this move to try and get second in class. He gets the inside line, but it's going to be held on the outside by Gibbons. It's going to swap back over. Gibbons to the inside, but now we have got the hairpin. It's a little bit of a lock up there. A very wide line from Gibbons, and Scott Malcolm is going to move into the second position of this amateur class. And Thomas Kuhn will be looking ahead of it now and thinking, oh, okay, they're fighting it out. Now is my opportunity, because look at Gibbons. He's to the inside of turn number 1, and Gibbons regains second. Scott Malcolm back down to third, and here is Thomas Kuhn to get himself back into the fight here for the front of this train of cars that's fighting for 18th position overall and second in class. 2.5 minutes left on the clock right now. Kuhn, you can see this fight. It's a little bit of a touch with the wall from Gibbons. It's wide from Kuhn. He loses time, but he still sees this fight. Malcolm on the wider line here. Looks to switch back and get the speed, just like he did last lap. This time, however, Gibbons is going to go defensive, force Malcolm to the outside. That's exactly what he's done. Malcolm is going for it, though. The rear end steps out just a little, but Scott Malcolm holds the outside line. He's now got the inside, but he backs out of it. He doesn't want to be stuck on the outside. He's trying to get the switch back. Almost would have worked, but Gibbons just placed it exactly where he needed to slow this whole train of drivers down. As we stay on board, Thomas Kuhn has got a great view of this fight for second in the amateur class with 2 laps to go. We head up towards turn number 1, and Malcolm is not going to make the same risk that Gibbons did. Gibbons pushes hard wide, though. Could have looked to the inside there, and he did for Malcolm, but there's just not enough room to try and go side by side without a bigger gap opening up. And this fight continues on as we head up towards the white flag lap round the Long Beach circuit for race number 1. As they continue on through up towards the front of this field, and it is as normal onto the white flag lap. Delmont leading ahead of Lama, ahead of Mould, ahead of McKinsey. Will there be any overtaking attempts made here as Lama gets right onto the back of Delmont through the Aquarium Way and South Chestnut Place around the fountain? Now we head up towards West Shoreline Drive through turn number 5. It's about half a second, as it's been most of the race here, and these drivers are going to continue to follow in a line and not really be able to go for any overtaking opportunities right now as we head up through turn number 8 and along East Seaside Way towards the end of the lap here. Adam Delmont, he won the opening round of the season back at Jerez, and it looks like he is going to be the first repeat overall and pro winner here as we go through the final turn. Adam Delmont is going to find the speed and find the pace here and will win around Long Beach in the pro class. The semi-pros will go the way of John Brown, who also won at the opening round of the season for his second win of the season as well. And Luke Woodhouse crosses the line to take his first Pro-Am victory of the season. And here comes Vigard Olsen-Lear to take his first win of the season in the amateurs. And Thomas Coombe has had an issue on the last lap of the race. And Scott Malcolm made his way past Ben Gibbons. I'm going to see if we can figure out where that happened. As it looks like it has happened early on in the lap. He's managed to do it out of the final turn. It was side by side, the same place we saw him go, the outside line before. This time, though, he got a much better run. And Scott Malcolm moved his way up into second in class. But what a way to end that one, and a victory for Adam Delmont around the circuit. But Vigard Olsen-Lear also getting a win in class, and what a great end to that one then. Repeat winners for the pros and semi-pros and Adam Delmont and John Brown. New winners in the Pro-Ams and Ams for Luke Woodhouse and Vigard Olsen-Lear. Let's have a look at the results then out of the first race of the day. Adam Delmont took the overall race victory in the end ahead of Anthony Lammer. Dan Mould came home in third. Logan McKenzie crossed the line in fourth position ahead of Kim Portland. Will Lyon came home in sixth, with John Brown winning in class in seventh, and Luke Woodhouse winning in his class in eighth. Jack Bolton, not great for the championship leader, coming home in only ninth position ahead of Gonzalo Oliveira. 11th position went the way of Det Crowther. Stephen Fry came home in 12th out of Kev Eilert. Vigard Olsen-Lear winning in that AND class in 14th overall, and will be in the top 15 invert, which is going to be placed on pole from Mark Draper. Marhan Kodeman crossed the line in 16th ahead of Scott Malcolm and Ben Gibbons. Daniel Downing in 19th ahead of Thomas Coombe. Jeff Saunders came home in 21st position ahead of Andrew Lovesey with his issue towards the end of that race. Jadon Scotton coming home in 23rd. Paul Hurley in 24th ahead of Fraser Garrity and Daniel Lewis. Demis Titcher a lap down in the end with issues, along with Carl Hardy. Jay Cooley, Ronald de Jong also a lap down with issues, along with Alan McCain, Jack Brown, Torben Mayle. 2 laps down with Chris London. And out of the race was Stuart Gibbons, James Coulden, Declan Marsden, Craig Walters and Luciano Espinera. We prepare then for race number 2 as drivers will be cooling themselves down and thinking, how can we do the lap number 1 a little bit differently this time to come up with something a bit better for our drivers. But we are going to have a quick word here with Andrew Lovesey because Andrew there, you had what was looking like a fantastic race, but it all went wrong towards the end. Talk us through it.
I'm still disappointed. Yeah, I struggled a little bit in quali. I set some good times in the week, struggled a bit in quali. Then put in a good lap at the end to put myself, I think I was like 6th or 7th on the grid, 8th, somewhere around there. Managed to sort of avoid the first corner. I did get a massive hit up the rear. I got quite a bit of damage, I think. And I was happy where I was. And I was sort of keeping Will behind me, and then I could see he had a bit more pace. So I kind of sort of let him through on that right-hander. And then I just forgot the track narrowed up. I clipped the barrier, but then obviously Daniel didn't slow down behind me and then sort of collected me. And that was it. Sayonara. So... yeah, I can't remember where I am now, but I'm right at the back. So,
how are you feeling about that one? Of course, because I mean, race number 1, the opening lap saw a lot of cars involved in multiple accidents, a lot of damage. It meant that some drivers were able to make their way from outside the top 30 into the top 15. Do you think that you may be able to benefit from more issues like that?
I mean, it's Long Beach, isn't it? We've seen it in race 1, so just try and keep my nose clean, sort of like I did for most of the first race, and we'll see where we come, buddy.
Right, well, good luck for race number 2. You've got a lot to do from the back, but we are wishing you the best of luck.
Cheers, Joe. Thanks, buddy.
Andrew, love to see that. Coming home in that one out of the good points after leading the semi-pros for most of the race. As he said, just a small mistake. It led to some contact and it ended up being what was quite a hefty hit. Of course, Lovesley stepping into the altitude team here at Long Beach after racing under SRL White in the opening 2 rounds. He has partnered up with Arthur Thurtle, who's unable to race today, but it means that the 2 drivers working together in that altitude team. And the altitude team itself not doing badly at all. 4th in the championship with 308 points. They sit about 80 points off of the lead right now, but with drop points that will come later on as well. It certainly is going to be close as this championship continues in all of our different classes as well as our teams. We are going to prepare ourselves for the second race of the day here then, because warm-up is about to come to a close, so make sure that you are ready for 25 minutes of racing action here in race number 2. And if you are watching for the first time, if you're over on that YouTube, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and you tick that thumbs up button as well. And if you're watching over on the Twitch, that you have hit that follow button. That way you'll be notified whenever we go live for all of the wonderful events that come your way. And if you want to catch every single one of these Friday night races, then make sure you tune in at 9:15 p.m. GMT every single Friday. We've still got 7 more weeks of racing to go this season after tonight. Let's have a look at the grid then for race number 2. And it is going to be Mark Draper who starts this one on pole position ahead of Vegard Olsen Leah. Kev Aylett will start in 3rd ahead of Stephen Fry. And Dec Crowther will start in 5th with Gonzalo Oliveira, the leading Pro-Am in 6th. Olsen Leah has a really great opportunity here to take the double with that 2nd position start in this one. We then see Jack Bolton starting 7th. We're hoping a little bit more in race number 2. Luke Woodhouse will start this one in 8th ahead of John Brown. Will Lyon in 10th out of Borkland and McKinsey. Then we'll see our front runners from race number 1. Dan Mould, Anthony Lammer and Adam Delmont. Codeman starts in 16th, just missing out on the invert. Then it's Scott Malcolm and Ben Gibbons 17th and 18th. Daniel Downing from 19th position ahead of Thomas Coombe. Then we've got Saunders, Lovesey, Scotton and Hurley. The rest of the field, of course, all in the order that they finished race number 1. So we've got Geraghty, Lewis, Titchler, Hardy, Cooley and De Jong, McCain, Jack Brown, Mail, London, Stuart Gibbons and Colden. Then we have Declan Marsden, Craig Walters and Luciano Espinera at the back of the field for is going to be a 25-minute and predicted 18-lap race around the Long Beach circuit here. Our drivers are preparing to get started at the front of the field here. We are just waiting for Vegard Olsen Leah. There he is on the front of the field and looking to take that amateur class victory in race number 2 and repeat the race number 1 feat. Let's see if it is going to be possible for the man who starts in 2nd position in the Sim Racing Norway Amateur Endurance Team, of course. 25 minutes on the board then. Draper from pole ahead of Leah. We are green, we are away here. Smoke from the back as drivers spin the wheels and we head up towards turn number 1. Are we going to remain all clean this time as they come up towards turn number 1? It was accident early doors from a lot of cars in race 1. Are they going to take it easier here? Bolton goes to the inside, moves up to 4th already on that inside line as we jump back to see if we all face the right way. Out of turn number 1 we do. It looks like we've got cars bunching up and around through the exit of the fountain. He mines out the way though, but a big road blockage here as drivers try to pull clear, but once again cars involved, and it looks like there are some big names involved in this one on the opening lap of the race, including Dan Mould, defending champion, has found himself around, and Vegard Olsen Leah, the amateur driver, is leading here at Long Beach. After taking his first class win of the season, he's hunting an overall victory we come out of the final turn. You can just see how tight it is here. At the very front of the field, Jack Bolton has managed to move his way up to third. No damage on his car this time, like he had in race 1. Who's unable to move towards the front. Can Bolton also take a second victory here tonight? Just like Delmont did, Bolton touches into the rear of Stephen Fry. Fry into the back of Olsen Leah there. But Leah is leading the way at the front of this one. It is not an easy train to lead though. You can just see how many cars are involved in this one. We head through turn number 5 as it's just a whole gathering of cars there as we see Gonzalo Oliveira leading the class here. Not too sure why that's showing incorrectly there. We'll try to get the bottom bit. There we go, as Oliveira is leading the Pro-Am field as well, and is doing that up in 5th position right now, and is doing really well for the Bike 500 team as Jack Bolton looks to go up the inside as Stephen Fry for second in this race. There's a little bit of a nudge there. Bolton will hold it around the outside. It's a wobble on the rear end, and into the hairpin we go. Bolton will have that inside line. Fry has to lead the space. And through goes Jack Bolton, and around goes Gonzalo Oliveira with contact into the wall, and Oliveira gets it back going straight again, wobbling the car a bit to see if there's damage. Hopefully not for Oliveira, who has dropped to second in class, and Woodhouse regains the Pro-Am lead here and looking to try and take the double. It's side by side for Draper and Lyon ahead. Draper's going to have to go over the glass a little bit and will have to drop behind Lyon, but Woodhouse was trying to get involved a little bit in that one and has to back out a little bit. Woodhouse under attack from Auckland, an accident in the background. More cars involved. Logan McKenzie has been caught up in that one. Damage once again for Andrew Lovesey. We'll see if we can get that one once again. This was on board then with Andrew Lovesey. The accident happens quite a while ahead actually. There's already a slow car actually, the 26 machine. There's the spin ahead. And Lovesey, oh, it's just the smallest of taps for Lovesey, but it has led to quite significant damage. In fact, Lovesey having to pull over to the side here with major damage, trying to get it repaired. Adam Delmont has got a few scratches on his car, is into 4th in class, up to 9th overall here, looking to maybe try and take a double, as that was Kim Portland just up ahead, diving from 3rd in the Pro class into pit lane. A lot of damage out there as Jack Bolton goes purple and sits on the rear end of the amateur driver Vigard Olsen Leah, who is still leading this race early doors and has had a fantastic start to this one. That was into the wall slightly there from Stephen Fry as we ride on board with Vigard Olsen Leah to look back at Jack Bolton and Stephen Fry chasing behind. Kev Aylett's not too far behind either, and Aylett will be trying to fight Fry for the semi-pro victory. Neither of them have taken a semi-pro victory so far this season. As once again, Bolton gets to the rear end of Olsen Leah there, but does not find his way through just yet. Leah has been doing a fantastic job. I said that Leah and Mayo were both looking fast in that Sim Racing Norway team around this Long Beach circuit. Leah showing it right now as him running at the very front of this field and holding off the driver who's leading the championship heading into here. And look at that, a tight line from Bolton there, but Leah gets the power down just a little bit earlier and immediately moves across to defend. As we go across the timing line, will Bolton go to the inside here? He made a number of positions on the opening lap by going that tighter line, looks for it, backs out as Mark Draper gets the purple lap overall so far. Of course, those bonus points for fastest laps do go the way of the fastest per class, not just overall either. This is the 6-car, I would even argue 7-car trainer drivers that goes from 1st to 7th and does include a driver from all of the classes right now. As we head around turn number 6 and up into turn number 8, will Bolton be able to find his way past Leah? This time around, that was definitely hit with the wall behind. Was it potentially Draper into the wall there? I think it was. He's slowing down in the background there, and Luke Woodhouse moves past Mark Draper to get into 6th position overall, and it's smoke for Olsen Leah. It's smoke for the AM leader, who now has to try and get that car straight and has to wait, and through goes Ben Gibbons. Ben Gibbons takes the lead of the amateur class with Olsen Leah's spin. What happened there? For Vegard Olsen Leah, who's now down to 4th. That looked like contact. That looked like it may have been contact there. We ride on board with Jack Bolton leading up to that accident there. Was it contact? The way they looked like they were far enough apart, but the way that Olsen Leah spun looked like there was contact here. So we ride on board with Jack Bolton. This is where they get close. And it is definite contact. Jack Bolton touches Vegard Olsen Leah, who goes spinning. That is a real shame indeed. But Jack Bolton then leads the way. Olsen Leah now down to 13th overall and 4th in class with some, probably some hefty damage after going into the wall with that big hit. What it does mean is your AM podium is now being led by Ben Gibbons. Scott Malcolm is chasing just behind in second though, and Jeff Saunders is looking for his 3rd win in class of the season as we go through the hairpin at the very end of the lap. With 10 minutes into this race, that means we have 15 more minutes left to go before we call this one over and done with. Demis Titchler on the hunt for his 3rd win of the season, currently 4th in class, would have to make his way all the way up to Luke Woodhouse, who sits right now in 5th overall. And part of this train of drivers that goes down to 6th position, where drivers are all about half a second between each other. But if anything like the fight for the lead in race number 1, there's not going to be much changing going on. Demis Titchler here, chasing down Jack Brown. Jack Brown promoted into the Pro-Ams after the first 2 rounds here, racing in that Pro-Ams now for Next Gen Racing Green. Had an accident in race number 1 that made him fall all the way to the back of the field. However, he is now up to 3rd in that Pro-Am field, 14th overall, and just ahead of Demis Titchler. Fraser Geraghty chasing down. Geraghty 5th in class right now. Fraser Geraghty, of course, is an AM champion. He won the amateur class back in season number 6. He's been trophyless since then. However, he is showing some decent pace around the field. Running right now 5th in that class. As I said, Scott Malcolm then chasing down Ben Gibbons. That gap has opened up, and Gibbons has been looking very quick in his Airy Motorsport car in that number 12 machine, and looking to try and take it to a victory. Of course, he was running in 2nd until the very end of race number 1, and then Malcolm managed to make his way through and get into the 2nd place slot on the final lap, or well, the penultimate lap of asking. Can Ben Gibbons keep it ahead of Scott Malcolm this time? Has he learned from race number 1? I expect he has. Andrew Lovesey has had damage yet again. He has visited pit lane to deal with that one and looking to try and make the move past fellow semi-pro driver of Carl Hardy. It would only be for 22nd position overall, but it is a position over another one of his semi-pro drive. Of course, Lovesey leading the semi-pros heading into this one. It looks like it's just been a bad weekend all around for class championship leaders. Jack Bolton, however, trying to turn that around in this race, currently leading the way at the very front of this one. Of course, there is now a accident review form thingy-majiggy, an incident review form for drivers to fill out if they feel like an accident is worth investigating for penalties or anything like that. Is that something that Olsen Leah will think about with Jack Bolton? I would hope not. And we can keep this racing on the track, but sometimes those additional measures are required. Jack Bolton, though, will be hoping that he can keep his victory at the front of this one because he will need all the points he can get after a poor race number 1. The altitude driver of Andrew Lovesey, though, side by side once more with Carl Hardy, looking to try and take to the inside, but cannot do it and has to wait behind. Will it be an attempted move, potentially, up towards turn number 1 for the man we spoke to at the end of race number 1? We head up towards the first braking point on the lap, and Lovesey does go to that inside. Hardy not letting her do easily there, does make him push all the way through the corner, but Andrew Lovesey makes it up into 22nd position overall. We are looking for the fight for third because it has changed around. Demis Titchler has found his way past Jack Brown here for third in class. How has that happened? There's a bit of a gap between them here. So has something happened to Jack Brown ahead potentially with Olsen Leah? Brown looks to the inside of Vigard Olsen Leah. It's a slow line through, and that slow line just opened the door for Demis Titchler, who found an easy move past there with the line that Jack Brown had to take. It means that Brown now down to 4th in class. Demis Titchler getting extra points to his name, though, in that Pro-Am field, sitting in 3rd. Gonzalo Oliveira leading the Pro-Am Championship, of course, was caught up in the incident at the start of this race. He found himself going around, but he is back into 2nd in class. 9th position in this race overall, and he's got Jaden Scotton ahead of him about 1.5 seconds down the road. Luke Woodhouse is all over the rear of Kev Aylett. Aylett keeping his rear boot door this time as we come up towards the climbing line. As Woodhouse is looking to try and take 4th position in this one. Of course, class positions matter in the championships, but actually they get their points from overall race positions. But if Woodhouse is able to gain even more points over his fellow Pro-Am drivers, he will be trying to do that. And if he can get past Kev Aylett for 4th position, he will certainly try and make that move. He is all over the rear of the number 111 for now, though, as we go to 10 minutes on the clock. Jack Brown is seeing a very close fight heading ahead of him as Titchler goes to the inside of Olsen Leah up towards turn number 1, and Titchler does make that move to take 13th position overall. Again, each of these positions do mean a lot for these drivers, which are not just reliant on class positions, but take their points from the overall race results. Jack Brown will be thinking, what can he do here to make his way past the race 1 AM winner of Vigard Olsen Leah, the man who was leading this race until the contact with Jack Bolton. Leah gets the title line here. Brown once again to the inside. This is how he went slow before. Leah goes defensive, and it means that Brown once again has to stay behind. The amateur field doing extremely well this weekend as the fight on the podium continues between Ben Gibbons and Scott Malcolm. It was the fight for second. Sorry, it was a fight for second in class in race number 1. It's the fight for the win here in race number 2. And in the background there is Jeff Saunders. Saunders having to look to try and get past Dan Mould. Mould is a lap down. Could be pulling Saunders along here a little bit, actually. The reigning champion, of course. As we look just behind, Brown is still looking to try and make a move past Olsen Leah and move up into 14th position overall, especially as you can see Titchler not too far ahead, and Olsen Leah himself can see Jeff Saunders just up the road and a potential podium in this race after going into the wall backwards. A podium would be a great result for Leah, which is why he has not backed out of any fight here, because you can see just ahead of Titchler is Jeff Saunders, and he'll be hoping that Titchler unsettles Saunders in a potential overtake here, which leads to an opportunity for Olsen Leah. 7.5 minutes left on the clock. We're coming up to about 6 laps to go here around the Long Beach circuit as we come now to turn number 9. This 4-car train remain in line as it stands, as Scott Malcolm still just on the rear end of Ben Gibbons, about half a second between them. There they are, going underneath the footbridge that get you to the pit lane, and under we go now and up towards the timing line. This train of drivers being led by Jeff Saunders. We're watching Demis Titchler, who sits 13th in this race. Vigard Olsen Leah in 14th, dropping back just a little bit. Lights flashing from Jack Brown, who is getting frustrated back there. But Olsen Leah has every right to fight for every position out there, does not need to concede any of them. Titchler all over the rear of Jeff Saunders there, looking to try and see if there was a way through past the fountain. There wouldn't be. Saunders has a slower exit there though, and it is going to invite Titchler to the outside line. Leah can see this happening just in front of him. Will Leah be able to take advantage of this as Titchler makes a move through? Leah isn't able to follow through, but is now on the rear end of Jeff Saunders, who is sitting on the bottom step of the amateur class podium. Will Lyon has found his way into second overall, and 2.5 seconds back off of the race leader Jack Bolton, who is looking to take his second win of the season. As we come through the end of the lap here, as that is Dan Mould, I believe, just running ahead of them on the circuit. It is, as we ride on board with Saunders, seeing Titchler just starting to move ahead. You can see lights again from Jack Brown, but again, Vigard Olsen Leah has absolutely every right to fight it for that position, especially as he can see the podium just in front of him now. We go through and around the fountain once more. It gets close between all of our drivers. A number of drivers out in this second race following contact, some of them having double DNFs with some major issues in both races on the opening lap. It took a little bit longer in race number 2 for the incidents to occur, but they still did occur around the fountain, which meant that a number of drivers picked up damage and others went out of the race. Right, Saunders is going to go defensive here as Olsen Leah looks to the outside to try and make that wider line work, to do the switch back in the end to the inside. Get some good speed here, running a drag race now with the Audi on his left-hand side. Will go onto the brakes and will take the Honda in front right now, and Jack Brown is looking to try and get past this fighting amateur duo, but Vigard Olsen Leah, after ending up in the barriers with contact with Jack Brown, has found his way back into an AM class podium. He does sit 4 seconds behind Scott Malcolm, who sits is second in class right now, fighting for that lead. has a lot of work to do in 4 laps of asking, but a podium after that contact would be a great recovery to that one. Adam Delmont has found his way up to 6th and looking to try and get past your Pro-Am leader of Luke Woodhouse and get some more points to his name, especially with his win in race number 1 with Jack Bolton's really bad run, because Delmont and Bolton are heavily contested in that top of that championship fight. Adam Delmont looking to try and take a 2nd championship this season after taking his first one back in season number 7. We head up now towards the hairpin, and Delmont is all over the rear of Woodhouse looking to try and potentially make a move through here for 5th position as we come across the timing line to tick down to 3 laps to go. Jack Bolton leading the way, 1.5 seconds clear of Will Lyon. There is potentially going to be a fight between your semi-pros of Stephen Fry and Kev Aylett, both those drivers hunting down first wins of the season. That was Mark Draper into the wall out of turn number 1. It was just a bit of a scrape there. Doesn't look like it's caused any issue for him, as Delmont still follows behind Woodhouse, looking to see if there's potentially a location he can overtake. He did some weaving on the main straight to basically say, look, I'm here. But of course, again, no driver obligated to give up position, even for drivers in a higher class. They take their points from overalls. So for Luke Woodhouse right now, who is sitting 4 positions ahead of championship leader Gonzalo Oliveira, he's going to want to try and stay ahead of Adam Delmont in this one to maximise his points to those behind him. Lights flashing from Delmont there as Jeff Saunders and Jack Brown fight it out here as Brown continues to try and move up some positions. Also gets to the inside of, it looks like, of Kim Portland. No, Portland's getting involved. That one, there's a little bit of a nudge there between Jack Brown and Jeff Saunders. Saunders on the inside, Brown on the outside. And Brown is going to take that position, but there was a big nudge there. Vigard Olsen-Lear has managed to pull a gap of 2 seconds to this train behind, which now has got Kim Borkland and Jay Cooley involved in this one as well, just behind as we go on to 2 laps to go. Jack Bolton still leading the way. The gap has dropped to a second here, but unless Will Lyon can find a huge amount of speed on the final lap of asking, it looks like Jack Bolton is going to find his way to a 2nd win of the season, which is exactly the same results we got in the pros at Jerez, with Delmont winning race 1 and Bolton winning race 2. And right now it's showing that being on pole is not all it's cracked up to be for your overall pole, with Jack Bolton unable to convert his pole at Jerez into a win in race 1. He got the win in the inverted race 2, and he didn't get a win at all at Motegi, even after getting the pole. Scott Malcolm here getting pushed along by Demis Titchler. Is Titchler going to go for the overtake or potentially try and help Malcolm out with his fight with Ben Gibbons? Gibbons and Malcolm both looking for their first class victories here as Adam Delmont and Luke Woodhouse fight it out towards the end of the lap. Delmont has made that move through though, and it looks like we've gone checkered. That was the checkered. It called it at the end. Jack Bolton wins. We've gone checkered right at the end there. Stephen Fry took the win in class, and Luke Woodhouse has taken a win in class as well. Ben Gibbons will take that win. It's gone checkered right at the end there. Just not enough time for Bolton to go onto a new lap of asking. As most of the field come through, it was opened up in those fights. There wasn't too much that was close together for the end of that one, as drivers just tried to survive all the way to the end. But Jack Bolton, after getting a poor race number 1, turned it around here in race number 2 to take the race victory. Let us see how the results came out of race number 2 here. Jack Bolton won that one in the end ahead of Will Lyons. Stephen Fry took the win in the semi-pros ahead of Kev Aylett. Adam Delmont coming home in 5th position. Luke Woodhouse took the Pro-Am victory ahead of Mark Draper. Jaden Scotton took home 8th ahead of Gonzalo Oliveira. And Ben Gibbons rounded out the top 10 and took his first class victory of the season as well. And just looking at those victories in the Pro-Ams, of course, for Luke Woodhouse, he took the double. And we saw the double, of course, for Demis Titular back at round number 1. So it's nice again for Woodhouse to take the double here. In your semi-pros then, obviously going the way of Stephen Fry. That is Fry's first victory of the season. Off the back of John Brown's second win in race number 1. And of course, in your pros, Jack Bolton, he took his second win of the season as well in your pro and your overall races. So some good results there for some new names and some recurring names. Right, let's look outside of the top 10. We had Scott Malcolm, who came home 11th ahead of Demis Titular. Vigard Olsen-Leah crossed the line in 13th ahead of Jack Brown. Kim Balkland came home in 15th ahead of Jeff Saunders, and Jay Cooley in 17th. Torban Mayo came home in 18th position. 19th went the way of Daniel Lewis, and Fraser Geraghty rounded out your top 20. Alan McCain, Andrew Lovesey, Carl Hardy and John Brown were your last drivers to finish on the lead lap of the race. A lap down was Paul Hurley, Dan Mould and Thomas Coombe, and out of the race was Dec Crowther, Chris London, Logan McKenzie, Daniel Downing, Anthony Lammer, Marhan Kodeman and Ronald de Jong. Of course, some more drivers at the back there did not get started in this final race of the day for Stuart Gibbons, James Coulden, Declan Marsden, Craig Walters and Luciano Espinera. Right then, after that race and 2 great races, let's see who there is around that we can pull up for an interview. And I think we do need to have a talk with the man that was promoted this week in the race. As Jack Brown there, you were promoted up into the Pro-Ams this week. It could have been a race to remember, but it looked like it was instead a weekend to forget. You did get 4th in class in the second race, but it looked like a pretty tricky weekend.
Yeah, it definitely was. I had a terrible start to the first race. Going in at T1, went a bit too wide, just got spun. Ended up in P32.
Race number 2, though, you managed to make your way through the field a bit. You were stuck in that amateur class fight for quite some time, though, flashing your lights. How was that feeling for you, just being stuck behind there, not being able to make your way through?
I definitely had the pace. I'd say that I definitely need to improve on passing, but with Long Beach being such a difficult track and it's so tight, it can be quite difficult at times.
How are you feeling for the rest of the season then? So promoted up to that Pro-Ams, you have shown pace. You, of course, did take 3 AM class victories. They've been taken off of you. Do you think you'll find your way to the Pro-Ams victory throughout this season?
We'll definitely see, considering it's my first ever season racing, but hopefully that we can see some more improvement and a better result.
Well, good luck for the rest of the season, Jack. Hopefully we'll be pulling you in once again to talk about some great results.
Thanks, Joseph.
Jack Brown there, coming home in the second one in 4th after finishing the first race outside of the top 30. Then we had a fight in the amateur class all evening long in both race number 1 and race number 2. Race number 1, it went your way, Scott. You came up ahead of Ben. In race number 2, though, you were just behind in that fight for the win. Talk us through your evening.
I had an absolute blast. That was absolutely superb racing against Ben there. First race was I managed to get past him twice, and then he got back in front of me. But I made it past him in the second last lap or something like that. But in the second race, I think he learned, because he was a lot harder to try and get past this time.
You found yourself towards the front then. It was looked like you had some good pace around this circuit. Do you think you can carry that pace through the rest of the season? Was it just this circuit really suited you? How do you think it's going to go?
I'll just take each race as it comes. We'll see how much practice I can get through the week, and I'll just take it from there.
Well, the amateur championship has always been one there we see normally one driver finding their way towards the front. However, with Jack being promoted up to the Pro-Ams, it has opened the door for new race winners, of course. You were almost there tonight, but do you have any circuit on the calendar you think you might have an opportunity to take that victory?
Like I said, I'll just take each track as it comes. If I get enough practice for the week, you never know. If I don't, then tough. We'll see how it goes.
Well, you've had a great evening of racing today, as you say. You were able to come out into second in both of those races in class. And I think actually more amazingly for, I think, the AM drivers there, you were up inside the top 20 in race 1, inside the top 15 in race number 2. Did you imagine yourself pulling the fight to so many other drivers out there and finding yourself so high up the grid today?
Not at this track. There was no way I was imagining to be like top 20, especially after qualifying. My qualifying pace is just non-existent in any track. I think I started second last. I think Paul was behind me. But to get top 20 was just amazing, and to get a top 10 in that second race is just, I'm speechless.
Well, it was an absolutely amazing weekend for you, Scott. Well done. And it was the highlights of the evening, I would say, on the broadcast as well. Your fights in that lead of the AMs, it was brilliant to watch. So well done.
Cheers, Joe. Thanks very much.
And we'll hopefully catch you again and speak to you again soon this season.
Yeah, cool. Hopefully.
All right, Scott Malcolm there coming home in second in class in both of those races. And one last man who I would like to talk to out of that one. Race number 1 was not yours, Jack Bolton. It was a write-off, but you came through and found the pace in race number 2. And I would say turn number 1 of race number 2. What a move to the inside.
Well, I'm not sure about a move, but yeah, it was. It's a hard track. This, we were just talking about it then. Obviously, everyone's checking up on each other through there, so everyone's braking earlier than the next, and then it's just a hard track. I was a bit off the pace around here, to be honest. So I'm surprised I'd done as well as I did.
I say you certainly didn't look the same speed in qualifying. You went from the off the back of 2 pole positions into a 12th. Race number 1, of course. Being in 12th, it meant that you picked up that damage. How bad was that damage to drive with?
Yeah, it was about a second and a half a lap. It was pretty bad.
I think the race number 2 showed how much it was hindering you. You found your way through, of course. The one thing that I will have to pick up on is the contact with Olsen Leah in that fight for the lead. What do you feel about that one from what you saw?
You have to run me back through it.
So it was the fight. It was the overtake for the lead, running behind Vigard through turn number 10, just before the hairpin. You ducked to the inside. There was a tiny little tap.
Yeah,
and
it
sent
looked like
him spinning into the
netcode.
wall.
It was netcode because I wasn't actually up the inside. I sort of backed out of it, and he still sort of had a bit of contact. So.
Yeah, when we looked from the off-board, it definitely looked like you were far away. On-board, I think from the angle we got, it looked you were a bit closer, but it definitely did not look aggressive. I just want to see your point on that one.
It wasn't intentional.
No, they're definitely not. I don't think this is the thing with these series. I don't think we've ever seen an intentional wreck in one of these, and I think that's excellent to see. Accidents do happen, of course, but it does mean, though, is that you came out of that one with your second win of the season. It does mean you're obviously your rival. So at the moment, Adam Delmont, he got 2 great results this evening, which means that he is going to close those points. How are you feeling for the rest of the championship?
Yeah, pretty good. Glad this track's out the way, to be honest. There was always a bit of a lemon track, this one. But yeah, the rest of the season, I'm pretty decent, I think, round most of the other circuits, so it should be pretty good.
Do you have a track that you are looking forward to more than any other for this season?
Virginia's a pretty good track. Pretty good round there. It's good racing as well round there.
Oh, well, let's see how that goes. I believe that's the 6th round, if I'm not mistaken, for that one. So it's going to be a great one. Jack, well done on race number 2. And let's see how you do in the championship as it continues.
Thank you very much.
Jack Bolton there coming home in the win. As you say, talking in that one, of course, we did see that accident with Vigard Olsen-Lear when he went around. And I would... I think it is that he certainly wasn't too far up the inside, but I'm going to see if we can just get another watch of this one once more. This was the accident, of course, for the lead. There was that little nudge that sent Olsen-Lear spinning into the wall. We'll ride once more on board with Jack Bolton, who said that he didn't feel like he was to that inside there. He backed out of it. Let's just have a look here. He is definitely alongside from there. Of course, the view inside is always slightly different when we ride in on the cockpit. However, on top here, definite contact to the inside. But as we say, incidents do happen, and unfortunately for Olsen-Lear, it meant that he finished that one in 3rd in class in the end. But we are done here for the 3rd week of action. We will be back at Summit Point, of course, next week before we head across to the Hungaroring for the midway point in the season. It is going to be a great remainder of the season. And for the final time tonight, hello and welcome to the commentary booth here as we watch the sun start to set around the Long Beach circuit. It has been an absolutely fantastic evening of racing once more, as it always is. We have a great calendar coming your way here at SRL TV. Now, if you haven't already subscribed over on the YouTube, make sure you head across. If you're not watching over there, make sure you head to SRL TV's YouTube channel and you've hit that subscribe button so that you are able to watch all of these Friday night TCR races, as well as some occasional POV streams throughout the week as well in the TCR events. And also, if you're watching over on the Josephite TV Twitch channel, make sure you hit that follow button over there. So once again, you're notified when we go live for these Friday events alongside all the other broadcasts that we do over there as well. Now, if you want to catch up with all of the races that have happened so far, but you don't quite have the time to watch these wonderful 2-hour broadcasts, then make sure you also head across to the Josephite Broadcasting YouTube channel, and you can catch all of the highlight videos that are available so far. And this one will be up before tomorrow night, so you can head across and catch up to tonight's broadcast as well. But until next Friday, I hope you have an absolutely fantastic week ahead of you, and we will be back next week at Summit Point for the 4th round of asking, can Adam Delmont continue this streak of points runs and find himself ahead of Jack Bolton and pulling ahead in the overall and the Pro Championship to hunt his 2nd championship in the SRL TCR League? Or will Jack Bolton be able to find his way to the front for the first time? He was there heading into tonight. Will he still be there heading out of tonight? We'll have to find out. To make sure that you don't miss any of the standings updates, then you can check out all of the posts that go on the YouTube page as well from SRL TV, making sure you catch up with everything. And of course, you can also head across to the SRL Discord, which is linked in the SRL TV's YouTube stream, so you can catch up on all of the standings and all of the discussions over there. So until next Friday, I hope you have a good week, and we will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.